Let's talk about right hand picking technique. We'll start like this. Wave hello to me. Now try to do the same thing with this knuckle bent. What the fuck happened here? It's all locked. You lost mobility of your wrist. You should stop watching nerds like Troy Grady talk about it and actually spend the time thinking, not like a bonehead, but like an intelligent adult for 5 minutes and fixing it. Today we're going to figure out how to do that, how it works, and how to actually build speed. Let's go. So just like I did in the intro, this bending of this knuckle creates something that is interesting. It hardens, it stiffens this muscle. Now the hand has two big muscle groups. This one in charge of the thumb and the blade right here. When this one is engaged, even a little bit, it locks your wrist in place. And then all of your mobility has to come from the elbow and the forearm muscle. You lose this inflection of the wrist. The way that you wave your hand, you can feel the weight of the hand shifting. And that's the feeling you want to have when you're picking. It doesn't matter if you're picking like Yngwie or like a bluegrass player. It's about keeping that wrist agile and loose. The moment that this starts hardening, you lose it. Now, you can harden it two ways. One is by putting a bend in the wrist. And a lot of players, they pick normally, but the moment they need to start picking fast, they start doing this. They harden this thing, and then all of the motion becomes an elbow motion. So one thing you want to keep in mind when you're starting to work on this is that there are three interpretations as to how to hold a pick, the fulcrum. There's the traditional grip, which means that you balance the pick on your index finger. See, it's not going anywhere. And then you just lay your thumb on top. Now, the trick here is to not put a lot of downward pressure with your thumb into the pick. If anything, then you are bringing it up with your index finger. You want to keep this muscle as loose as possible. The other way is the Sean Lane or George Benson way. In this one, you're basically balancing the pick on the tip of your thumb, and then you're putting the index down. This creates this D shape right here. And this puts the pick at this angle, but it forces your thumb into being straight. So this muscle is also loose. The other way is two fingers on the pick and the thumb, and this also keeps a straight thumb, and this is how Steve Morse and Pat Metheny play, right? And the mobility is coming from rotating the forearm. Now, I play with the traditional grip, and to do that, you want to make sure that you can really balance it on your index finger. This kind of idea allows you to just place your thumb down with the minimal amount of pressure that it takes to stabilize it. So let's start picking. This is 70 BPM. Now, the idea that you want to get into is that you're subdividing from this pulse. Let's start with half notes. Now, to get that motion together, you don't want to alternate. You don't want to be here, because then I'm just shooting a dart at the target, and I'm just frozen in place, and I have no dance to my motion. I want to take up space. If I'm doing this kind of thing with half notes, I'm using just downstrokes, but I'm miming every other downstroke to keep it dancing. That's the least amount of tension. So that's how you get into that pocket. Take up the motion like a dancer is using his entire body to stay in time. Now, if I'm in that quarter note pocket, it's just from the shoulder. That's the least amount of tension I can possibly play with. Right here are the quarter notes. Now, the eighth notes are still, for me, it's less effort to do them all as downstrokes. It's still not quite fast enough to where I need to start alternating. I can, but then it'll be like really wide alternating. I'm taking the space, and that's the secret for a relaxed technique. If I'm right by the string, it puts way more tension in my hand. So I'm adjusting for the tempo with how I'm moving my body. Now, when I get into that triplet grid, I can still do it with just downstrokes, but now it's starting to be a tiny bit of tension because it's quick. But now I'm trying to find out how wide my space has to be for those triplets. It's still way more comfy to use my elbow than my wrist. The wrist is really great for faster subdivisions. I have to actually put a lot of tension on my wrist to use it in this tempo. I'm getting through the string too quick, and then I have to basically freeze in place because the motion is too tiny. So you want this to be kind of like a grandfather's clock dial, right? It's just moving freely. Way easier, way less tension to play in time in that tempo. But now when we get to 16ths, if I try to do that, it's harder to control at that tempo. So here's where I start using my wrist. And now because that motion is so tiny, but I have enough space to stay in time, I can build this technique that's effortless. Now, if you're feeling tension, try to loosen the touch with your left hand at the same time. The hands are tied together. It's actually really hard to press very hard and loosen one, right? It takes some really intense coordination. They both kind of tense each other up when they involuntarily cramp. And a lot of the time when you're trying to play faster, you'll notice that you're digging in more with your left hand. Try to loosen the left hand when you want the right hand to loosen. So here's 16th notes. Now it's really important to remember that when you're alternating, you're limited by the speed at which you can play downstrokes because you're just cutting the time in half. These are the 8th notes, downstrokes, and if I just put upstrokes in the middle, it becomes the 16th notes. Now let's find those sextuplets. The way to do it is find downstroke triplets first. That kind of speed, alternating closer. I'm trying to shrink my motion, all wrist, all with this muscle, very relaxed. Now, when I look for that 32nd note pulse, the first thing I want to think of is how can I play downstrokes as 16ths in a relaxed way? That's the fundamental skill you're trying to build. If there's any tension, you won't be able to do it for very long. Just tickling it. And I want to always be able to take it back to those 16th notes as downstrokes. And that's the idea. And you want to do that in a variety of tempos. So as an exercise, I went from half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, 16th notes, sextuplets, 32nd notes. And what you want to do is just basically work on how relaxed you can do it, keeping this muscle completely out of the picture. Now you can crank it and find your limit. It's not that hard to. So if I go to 90 BPM and I attempt to put those 32nd notes back together, they require me to play 16th notes as downstrokes. I can already see that I can't do it without any tension. It requires some tension, so I'll be able to alternate them, you know, for a few seconds. Like, after a few seconds, I start feeling it warm up. That's just my technical limit. It's not a wall that I'm even interested in expanding. Of course, if you work at the fringes of your technique, you could always gain a few more BPM. If you want to play passages for like an hour, that's probably not going to be possible. But you know, to get a string of, I don't know, 32 of them, very, very much possible, very doable. But it's not really about that. It's understanding how to fill up the range of motion to groove and to stay in time and to stay in the grid. So if in that tempo I'm looking at triplets, it's really understanding the span, the width that the arm needs to travel in a relaxed way. So ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, down, 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 right? Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, down, 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 down. Here's the 6-tuplets at 90. Right here are the 16th notes. I can alternate them, but then it's much wider and from my elbow instead of my wrist. Triplets, or those are quarter note triplets, all down strokes. The idea is to understand the dance, that each subdivision has its own length of swing, and that's how you build good technique and good time. So I'll play a jazz melody like Nuage at this tempo, and look at how I'm changing the width of my strokes depending on the subdivision that I'm playing. You get it? Cool. So please join our Patreon because it's the greatest mega Patreon of all time. Leave a comment below for a chance to win a free month. Subscribe, hit all the links, hit the like button, show it to your grandpa, and we'll see you next time.